Hey there, adventurers! If you're enjoying the content, make sure to hit that subscribe button and join our amazing community. Don't forget to leave a like if this story hooked you, and be sure to activate the bell so you never miss a new episode. Thanks for watching, and let's keep exploring together. Chapter 7: The Chaos Begins. The walls of the Stellar Hive seemed to close in around the remaining members of the Ebony Legion as they made their final push toward the reactor. Every step felt heavier, not just from the battles they had fought or the physical toll the Hive exacted on them, but from the losses they had suffered. They were fewer now, a grim reminder that this mission had always been a one-way trip. Ahead, the reactor chamber lay at the heart of the Hive, a pulsating, alien structure that radiated power unlike anything they had ever encountered. It was vast, a towering monolith of energy surrounded by massive, organic conduits that ran along the walls and ceiling, connecting it to the entire Hive. The reactor itself glowed with a sickly green light, casting eerie shadows across the chamber. Tendrils of raw energy snaked from the reactor, feeding the ship's lifeblood into every corridor and alcove, the heart that kept this monstrosity alive. Harrington surveyed the room, his gaze sweeping across the alien architecture. "This is it," he said quietly, his voice firm but edged with the gravity of what was to come, the heart of the beast. The air was thick with tension as the team moved forward, but there was no turning back now. They had made it this far, and the only thing left to do was finish the mission. But as they approached the reactor, the Hive responded. Mechanical turrets emerged from the walls, their spindly arms snapping into position. From hidden alcoves and shadowed passages, heavily armored Khardaani drones began to emerge, their insectoid limbs moving with frightening precision. "The last line of defense," Whisper murmured, her fingers tightening around her weapon. She could feel the weight of the Hive pressing down on them, the ship itself responding to their presence, determined to protect its core. "Hold them off while Fuse sets the charges," Harrington ordered. His voice was calm, but the tension rippled through his every word. They had minutes, if that, before the full force of the Hive descended upon them. Fuse sprinted toward the reactor, his eyes focused on the task at hand. His hands worked quickly, setting the charges around the base of the monolithic structure. Every moment felt like a lifetime. The weight of the mission, the losses they had endured, the unrelenting pressure of time, it all threatened to break him. But he couldn't afford to falter. The future of Earth hung in the balance. Titan had always been their shield, their indomitable force of nature, but he was gone. The loss was fresh, raw, and Fuse could still hear the echoes of Titan's last stand reverberating in his mind. There was no room for hesitation. Titan had died for this mission, and Fuse would see it through. As Fuse worked, the Khardaani soldiers swarmed toward the team. Their numbers seemed endless, the Hive throwing everything it had at them in one final, desperate attempt to protect itself. Harrington moved with the efficiency of a seasoned warrior, issuing orders, directing fire, keeping the team together in the face of overwhelming odds. "Whisper, keep them off us," Harrington shouted. Whisper was at her station, frantically working to jam the Hive's communications and disrupt the flow of reinforcements. But the Hive was adapting, faster than she could counter. Her hands moved with a practiced precision, but the frustration was evident in her every movement. "I can't hold them off much longer," she yelled over the din of battle. Sweat dripped down her face, her calm, collected demeanor fraying at the edges. But Harrington's steady voice anchored her, keeping her focused as the world around them descended into chaos. Just as Fuse finished setting the final charge, the Hive unleashed its elite. From the shadows emerged a group of heavily armored Khardaani soldiers, larger and faster than anything they had encountered before. Their weapons cut through the Legion's defenses with terrifying ease, their precision deadly. Harrington's instincts kicked in. "Titan, hold." He stopped, the name hanging in the air. Titan was gone. Harrington clenched his jaw, the pain of the loss fueling his resolve. "Everyone, fall back to the reactor. Hold them off." The team rallied, fighting with every ounce of strength they had left. But the Khardaani elites were relentless. They moved like shadows, striking with brutal efficiency. And in the chaos of battle, Titan's absence became painfully clear. He had always been their wall, the one who held the line, and now there was no one to fill that gap. Harrington stepped up, his body moving with a purpose born of years of experience. He fought with a precision that was more instinct than thought, directing fire, keeping his team alive. But the Khardaani were everywhere, and the pressure was mounting. In the heart of the battle, Titan's legacy surged forward. His absence was felt, but his presence lingered in every corner of their fight. It was Titan's resolve that fueled them now, pushing them forward through the chaos, through the pain, through the fear. He had fallen so they could finish this, and they would not let his sacrifice be in vain. Then came the moment Harrington had dreaded. In the middle of the melee, one of the Khardaani elites broke through their defenses and charged straight for Whisper. Without hesitation, Harrington stepped into its path, intercepting the attack. The two clashed in a brutal exchange of blows, but the Khardaani was stronger, faster. Harrington gritted his teeth, deflecting a vicious strike. He couldn't afford to go down now, not with the mission so close to completion. He fought with everything he had, knowing that every second he held on was another second Fuse had to finish the job. Finally, Whisper's voice cut through the chaos. "Charges are set. We need to blow this place now." Harrington gave the order. "Fall back to the reactor room." The team regrouped, but as they prepared to make their escape, the hive reacted. Organic walls shifted, sealing off their exits. They were trapped. More Khardaani soldiers flooded into the chamber, surrounding them from all sides. "There's no way out," Fuse said grimly, his eyes scanning the room for an escape that didn't exist. Harrington met his gaze, the reality of the situation sinking in. There would be no escape, no extraction. This mission had always been a one-way trip, and now it was clear that they would not survive the explosion. "We finished this," Harrington said, his voice steady. "For Titan, for Ironclad, for Earth, we go down fighting." Whisper nodded, her face pale but resolute. Fuse, though weary and bloodied, flashed a grin. "If we're going out, we're taking this hive with us." The team barricaded themselves in the reactor chamber, preparing for their last stand. The sounds of the hive closing in on them grew louder, the chittering of the Khardaani soldiers like the approach of death itself. But there was no fear in their eyes, only a fierce determination to see the mission through. Harrington stood at the center of his team, his weapon raised, his heart steady. "This is what we trained for. This is why we're here. Let's make it count." The final wave of Khardaani soldiers poured into the chamber, but the Legion stood their ground. They fought with everything they had left, every shot fired a testament to their unyielding spirit. Whisper fired in controlled bursts, her aim precise even as exhaustion clawed at her. Fuse moved with deadly efficiency, planting more explosives around the room, ensuring that when the charges went off, they would bring the entire hive crashing down. As the Khardaani swarmed closer, Harrington's voice rang out, cutting through the chaos. "Whisper, set the charges to blow." Whisper's hands moved quickly, setting the charges to detonate. "It's done," she called back, her voice steady despite the chaos. The team fought until the last possible moment, their weapons blazing, their determination unshakable. They were surrounded, outnumbered, but they would not fall easily. As the final Khardaani soldiers closed in, Harrington gave his final order. "Do it!" Whisper triggered the detonator. For a brief moment, there was silence. Then, the world exploded around them. The charges ignited in a brilliant flash of light, and the hive trembled as the reactor went critical. The walls cracked and buckled, the energy of the explosion rippling through the ship. As the hive began to collapse, Harrington stood tall, his heart swelling with pride. They had completed the mission. They had done the impossible. The hive would fall, and with it, the Khardaani would be dealt a crippling blow. The last stand of the Ebony Legion would be remembered, not for their deaths, but for the legacy they left behind. The mission was complete.